little bit weirded out tonight because I'm in my recording booth and the sound is really strange because the dimensions in my room have gone really odd. Can you hear me?
I can just about hear you, Geoff. Only very quietly. It's all got a bit strange in here too, and in a little box.
Oh dear. I can't believe this. We've come on.
Hello?
Yeah, I can hear you. You're very quiet. Very tiny.
I can just hear a big booming sound, and I don't know if you can hear me, but I'm in a small box at the bottom of your wardrobe, I think. I don't know why I was in there. I was looking for something, some shoes. And I saw them. I got stuck, and it's got a little.
I can't believe this has happened tonight when we're coming on to do our recording about our Flatline rewatch. It's almost like it's been planned.
That's amazing. Did you script that?
Maybe.
Okay, you did it. I just found it up on the spot. Anyway, enough of that. Can you get me out of this box?
Yes. Insert sound effect here.
Hey, that's
There we
better.
are.
I can breathe again now. Hiya, Geoff. How you doing, mate?
Yeah,
All
good.
right?
You okay?
Yeah, I'm good. Yeah, it's been a funny old day today.
Yeah. Well, the dimensions have transcended the internal, external, or something.
And maybe we should just crack on with the
Yeah.
show.
So if anyone's still listening, we're here to...
They're probably not now. They've
no,
probably
they're
gone.
probably
We've probably lost our
gone.
audience in one fell swoop.
Yeah. So we're here tonight to look at Flatline. So a couple of weeks
Yeah.
ago, we ran another poll. Paul and I discussed a couple of our favourite 12th Doctor episodes.
Yeah.
And we put out a poll to see which one people like the most and which one they wanted us to rewatch and discuss again. And the winner was Flatline, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was Flatline. It was a bit of a close one again, wasn't it? Yeah, people have really got their favourites when it comes to these, and they will defend them to the death.
Yeah. I can't. What else did we put up for?
Oh, I can't remember. I'm going to have to look at it now, aren't I? Yeah, I'm going to have to... Because I do have Twitter open just now, but then it's probably like half a mile down the profile feed.
I've got
because
the
we've been
comments for
posting
the
and
episode
reposting
about...
all sorts of stuff, because we had our really popular Kevin McNally chat,
Yep.
which generated an enormous amount of love onto our Twitter feed. So thank you, everybody who's been looking at that and listening to that one.
Yeah, I hope you've been enjoying it. And
it's
also the
gonna
Sam Sproul one, which came out recently as well.
That as well. That was awesome. Yeah. Do you know what? It's because it's been a while since we recorded that Sam Sproul, but I listened to the podcast the other day, and the thing that got me was hearing his voice over the audio again.
Yeah.
It just gets you, doesn't it?
Yeah.
You know, just as soon as he starts speaking. Honestly, such a good session. That was really enjoyed that. Here it is. So we put in Flatline, obviously, Magician's Apprentice and Which is Familiar.
Oh, yeah.
It's one of my favourites.
Yeah.
And we put in Face the Raven and Pilot. And the scores were in last place, actually. It was leading for ages, was Face the Raven. Came in at last place with 20.4%. That was followed by Pilot in third place, which came in at 24.4%.
Oh, wow.
We had The Magician's Apprentice, Which is Familiar, which came in just nicked above Pilot at 25%. And then Flatline, which came in at a whopping 30%.
It is
so that
really
suddenly
close,
took a
isn't it?
last-minute lead. It was neck and neck for ages, wasn't it? It was like watching a Grand National, and then it all fell at the final hurdle.
People might notice there's quite a strong Clara lean in those episodes.
Clara? I don't remember Clara. I'm joking, obviously. Geoff is a big Clara fan.
I am a big Clara fan, yeah.
Massive.
And rewatching Flatline made me...
Don't ever say anything bad about Clara when Geoff is in the room.
If our friend Katie, who's at Space Rose, is listening, we're still friends despite her dislike of Clara. One day she'll realise her error of
She's
her ways.
wrong.
Yeah, she's wrong. But yeah, rewatching Flatline reminded me how much I like Clara. So we don't need to go through the episode in detail, but essentially...
Why not?
Well, because I'm assuming that most people listening kind of know it quite well, but to summarise it, the Doctor and Clara are in the TARDIS, as usual at the start, and Clara notices that the door has become tiny, and they try to they land the TARDIS and they're in. Well, she's wanted to go somewhere, isn't she? And they end up in Bristol, which is not where she wants to go.
She wants to go and have some drinkies with new boyfriend Danny Pink.
Yes, that's right. Yeah,
and they're having a little conversation, aren't they? Her and the Doctor about the whole Danny Pink thing, and Clara leaving. Carrying items of apparel between the TARDIS and wherever she's living with Danny.
Because Danny doesn't.
She wants to dump some stuff around his gaff. So,
yeah,
and she's got some stuff in the TARDIS, and the Doctor's like, he's not very interested. He's like, I stopped listening ages ago.
Yeah, well, Danny thinks that she stopped travelling in the TARDIS, doesn't he?
That's it.
He's not aware of that, and the Doctor.
Clara says that he's okay with it, and the Doctor finds out, actually, you haven't even told him.
Yeah, he cottons on quite quickly, doesn't he? Yeah. So there's a little bit of kind of relationship drama there, and then they discover that the door has shrunk. So they land the TARDIS, and
that, can I just say, is one of those great Doctor Who moments that we see peppered throughout the series since 1963, when an acquaintance of the Doctor goes, "Doctor?" And they're sort of looking at a thing, and then dun dun dun, the drama happens, doesn't it? Yeah. Brilliant. I love the fact they did that. It's very Doctor Who.
It's really good. And then one of surely the best visuals we've had across any of the series.
Oh, steady now.
The shrunk TARDIS and Capaldi trying to get out of it.
Okay. Yeah, I thought you were going to stop there at shrunk TARDIS, and then I was going to do my gatekeeper thing of reminding you, my friend, that Legopolis also featured a shrunk TARDIS.
Did you see anyone climbing out?
But we didn't have Tom Baker's face looking out of it.
No,
right?
that's also brilliant as well, and his hand coming out as well.
I love the hand.
It was sort of. It's just a kind of bonkers idea. It's just Jamie Matheson's script, isn't it? And there's a lot of great stuff in this episode, and strangely, it kind of reminded me a little bit of Angel, the show, in a way. I
remember Angel, the Buffy spin-off.
That's right.
Is that what you mean?
Yeah, it is, which I always really loved. And
I bought it, just as a little aside there, park it for a second, right? I bought the entire series of Angel on VHS back in the 90s, or whenever it was, all of it. And I was up in my loft and I found it all up there, all wrapped up in its cling film wrapping. Never. Oh. I mean, I saw it when I was on TV, and I saw it, and I liked it enough to think, I'm going to own all of this. And it was all on cheap at W. H. Smith's or something, and I bought it, but just never got around to watching it.
Well, I'm a big Buffy fan, as you know. I always felt that Angel was the stronger of the two shows, and I felt that Angel consistently was better every series.
It's quite interesting.
And its final series was.
I might get round to watching them if anyone's got a cheap VHS player.
Or just look for it on Disney Plus because it's on there. But Angel was Angel was a show that started to. Kind of bend its format a bit towards its latter part, and there was an episode in the fifth series, the final series, where Angel gets turned into a muppet, and and you'd think this is ridiculous, but it's so clever and it's so funny, and you just think there's not many shows that could do something like this, and it's done it brilliantly, and because of course it was magic and everything, so there was a reason behind it. So,
of course,
this thing with the shrunk TARDIS kind of
Muppet. Some people don't need magic for that.
No, they don't.
Born a Muppet.
But it's a bit like the musical episode of Buffy. You think that sounds mad, but it's so good because it still is about character, and it still moves people forward and is about their emotion and everything. So Flatline felt a little bit, reminded me a bit of Smile Time. That's the Angel episode, and it was just a bit of a mad idea. That just worked brilliantly, and also it was a really clever way of doing one of the old double bank episodes where the Doctor is, Capaldi is shooting, has to do more on another episode, whilst Jenna's doing, they're not, they have to get an episode out by teaming that,
Tuesday. Get out by tea time.
Yeah, so that's why midnight is mostly about Tennant because Tate wasn't as available and things like that. So. I think it's filled with brilliant visuals and the boneless, the alien entity in it. They live in a 2D world, don't they? 2D universe.
2D universe.
And you get this sort of weird kind of running paint, melting wax type effect of on the walls, and you've got people trapped on the walls, and in those kind of the guy at the beginning when he's screaming on the sort of the frieze on the wall.
Yeah, the pre-credit sequence, isn't it?
And you don't realise what it is until the camera
gets to a certain
pans
angle.
around and aligns with it. So I thought all of that stuff was really cleverly done, and the boneless themselves, that sort of weird rippling stuttery effect that they have on them when they become more 3D towards the end is really well realised.
It's nice. It's a great effect, and going back to that thing about the sort of flat, two-dimensional. What I really liked, what I hadn't really thought about when I first watched, because I've seen this episode quite a few times now. It is definitely one of my faves of Series 8. I think it's definitely one of the better episodes of that, in my opinion. But the way. Okay, so we'd seen a lot of these kind of 2D images with what do they call it, trompe l'oeil or something, right? Where you paint on a pavement in such a way everything is all kind of stretched. You can only view it from one angle, and when you look at it from that angle, it assumes a kind of 3D perspective. So it appears to, so you have like stairs going down the pavement, but obviously it's just a paint. I've always marvelled at
it's very clever, isn't it?
Sort of thing. It's amazing. So to actually bring that into a Doctor Who episode as a kind of unique alien device, we'd never seen that before. We'd never had 2D aliens. It's such a great
really
original idea.
There's a bit sort of like you're talking about there when they're in the train hangar, and I can't remember the guy's name. He's like 44 or something, isn't he? And you looking at him, and he looks like he's frozen.
Yeah.
And then the camera just moves a little bit, and you realise like he's been painted over the little drawer unit and stuff like that. And so it's like what you're talking about, and you see that effect, and it's like the the door handle being flattened and things like that. It's very visually clever. It's really good.
That's it. It's exactly that. It kind of plays, because obviously we're watching it all on a two-dimensional TV screen anyway. It doesn't. It's just the depth is just an illusion, and there are the good thing I like about this is it could so easily be a one-trick pony.
Yeah.
Right. It could just be it could just be other ways of doing that same image that we had in the pre-credits. But actually, they go beyond that. They Jamie Matheson wrote different ways to explore that two-dimensional threat. So we get the police officer kind of being sucked into the carpet almost, right? So and she's screaming as her leg is kind of flattening and being pulled in.
I was watching that and I thought, how have they done this? There must have been something it must have been
visual trickery, my friend.
Yeah, but
it's visual trickery.
Sinking into the floor. It was very well done, anyway.
Yeah, it's probably, I don't know, Quantel or something. They still got an old Quantel machine from 1980 knocking around the back, and they wheeled it out and said, "Oh yeah, we can do two-dimensional images with this one. Let's give it a go. It'll be great. Let's give it a go. We can make them all 2D, and it'd be good fun. We can put it in a Doctor Who episode, or it could go in EastEnders. One of those anyway." I don't know. But yes, so they do the policewoman. We've got the guy sucked into his kind of his picture rail or something.
Yeah.
And then we get that kind of skin pattern in the background of when Clara's investigating the apartment with Rigsy, and there's that skin, and we don't notice it. We think it's just like a kind of funky,
and
arty
also the
sort of thing.
The nervous system on the wall as
and
well.
Then we get the nervous system thing. So
gross.
It's all like, and it's all like different ways of delivering that kind of idea of two. What else can we do as two-dimensional? And then of course we get the murals in the tunnel, which everybody thinks they're just paintings of people. And there's that kind of horror sync moment when Clara says they're actually, when she realizes they're the missing people, who are on the posters, missing and everything. It's brilliant. I love the way it does that. And then yes, you're right, we get the boneless finally entering into the three-dimensional universe and assuming those kind of weird, freaky zombie interference pattern, like And then it still continues to play on the idea as well, doesn't it? With the wheel, we see the wheel that they have to turn on the door to escape them, and how they then use that against the boneless towards the end. But I'm getting ahead of myself.
No, it's very clever. It takes each kind of trick, each visual trick of the aliens, it goes up a notch each time. They could have just repeated the same thing.
Which is a good way to keep an episode interesting,
It is, yeah, exactly. It doesn't get boring, and it really, I've said it already, but very visually interesting, very nicely done, I thought. So, what did you think of, let's start with Rigsy. What did you think, Rigsy?
Oh, yeah. He's all right, isn't he? Yeah. He's good, actually.
What's he, local knowledge?
Local knowledge, yeah, which is quite rude of the Doctor, really. But then that's what he does, isn't he?
Yeah, we'll come on to that, I think.
Oh, you've got that planned. If you've got like a plan of the episode or something.
No, I'm just winging it as we go.
Good man.
But I like Rigsy.
There for a second.
He seemed like someone who was quite creative. We see it again when he's back in Face the Raven. He puts the graffiti on the TARDIS, doesn't he? The flowers and things.
Yeah.
But he's sort of slightly on the wrong side of the tracks. Maybe there's a metaphor there with the train. Perhaps.
So he did.
But he's essentially a good person, isn't he?
He is.
Unlike the main guy.
Old fella.
Yeah. Oh God. I mean. Okay, obviously
he's nasty, isn't he?
He was nasty, and also I thought he was. Even though this episode's not that old, all of his love and sweetheart stuff, I was like, I don't think you get away with that quite so well these days.
But then it suits the character, doesn't it?
It does a little bit.
It's not like we all don't know people like that in our lives. Well, I think we've all met somebody like that, either somebody we've worked with, somebody we work for, somebody who just lives down the street from us or goes to the same. Another parent of some other kids at school or something. You know what I mean? There's always somebody like that in the world who just seems to make it their mission in life to upset the good karma of everybody else.
I think sometimes you might get called something. Someone saying, "Oh, when you go to the shop and the lady at the till says, 'Oh, hello, sweetheart,' and you think, 'Oh, that's quite nice.' They don't mean anything bad by it, and it's quite a sort of endearing type of thing. But then if it's an older bloke to a woman, it can be a bit, So, but he was obviously.
I think also it's probably a generational thing as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
As a lot of these things probably are.
Yes.
The older people don't think anything of it because
that was what they did back then.
They're just entrenched in those kind of language structures, really. And whereas now we're challenging those.
And just because that guy was such an awful, mean character.
I can't remember his name. Was it George or something? Was it George? Was he George? I only watched it last night. What's the matter with me? I think I'd be able to remember, wouldn't you?
And then right at the end, he's gone through all of this and he's been saved, and he's just like, thanks a lot, and walks off.
Yeah, well, to be fair, actually, he does seem pretty grateful.
Yes,
in his own
way.
But,
he does.
Yeah, but he still manages to throw a few insults, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does. Yeah, so it was quite a nice contrast between him and Rigsy, and Rigsy. We don't sort of spend an enormous amount of more time with him across the series, but that guy is someone who's ended up in a bit of a probably thankless bit of a rut, whereas and he's probably unconsciously resentful at Rigsy because he's someone who could get out of this and go on to do something a bit better, and Rigsy is creative, whereas this guy is having to cover it all up and hide all that stuff away, and so they're sort of like opposites of each other in that way.
Yeah, they are, and I think also when you have someone who's an absolute monster like that, it makes the good guys seem gooder. More kind of
Rigsy,
more sympathetic. Possibly
Rigsy
when
was
got
quite
a strong force like that trying to pull them down all the time.
Yeah, I liked Rigsy. It was a shame we didn't see more of him, but
I thought he was going to come back at some point. I mean, he did obviously with Face the Raven, but I thought he would have showed his face, before then.
A little bit more.
Had all the makings of a Doctor Who's semi-regular.
Yes, he did. Yeah. So, what did you think of Clara in this episode?
You've been waiting to get around to this episode, haven't you? She's really good in this episode. Actually, do you know? I do like Clara, but she does have some annoying. habits and tics I find, like the one in this episode, which she does a lot, and it's just a personal thing, because it's always got me. But she walks around with her arms folded like that. She walks down the stairs, her arms folded, and she looks at things and with her arms folded, and she bends down and looks at the things with her arm folded. But I tell you what that goes back to, because it is a personal thing, is when I was a kid, I used to watch all the mums in the street do that. And I'm thinking, why do people do that? Why do they walk around with their arms folded under their bosoms or something? I never do that. I would never. Maybe it is. I don't know. It always struck me as really weird. So when I see Clara Jenna Coleman sort of walking around with her arms folded like that, I just think it just takes me back to 5 years old in the street in the northeast, and just watching all these mums walking around chatting with their arms folded.
Yeah, I think that I liked Jenna in the
I'm just going to sit back now and just let you wax
yeah,
lyrical while I finish on the tea. Here we go.
This is for Latara.
Do you want me to play some romantic music while you come out with this?
I'll tell you about the time I met Jenna at the 50th celebration. But I liked Jenna from when she first appeared as Oswin. But in Series 7, she was admittedly more of a kind of puzzle element than a proper character. But I liked how important she was to the Doctor, and getting splintered through time and saving him. And I think it's fair to say she's the most important companion the Doctor's ever had. And then it was really in Series 8 that she kind of came into her own. And I know some people didn't like the kind of what they called Dr. Clara thing, which this episode kind of played with.
I like that. I thought that was really good.
I did too, actually, because I quite like a competent companion. Not that any of the others aren't, but in her arc, she was able to really kind of stand up, take charge, and take the place of the Doctor. And actually, interestingly, I noticed that she said, "What would the Doctor do?" At one point.
Yeah, I noticed that as well. I like that.
Then made me think of Yaz and writing it on her hand. So I thought Jenna was brilliant in this.
She is
confident,
really, really good,
charming. With a little bit of a kind of bite to her as well. Slightly kind of.
There is, but also I thought a kind of vulnerability is the wrong word. A sort of okay, I'm going to do this now.
Yeah.
Almost a sort of nervousness, but a willingness to kind of go for it.
Yeah.
You can sense she's constantly thinking behind her eyes. Am I doing the right thing? I kind of wished, in a way, that we didn't have the running commentary from the Doctor. Telling her everything, because there's a few minutes right at the start of it when she's on her own and she is thinking, and then the Doctor's interventions become more frequent when when she and Rigsy go to the flat, and suddenly she's handed over control to the Doctor again, and I thought that was a bit disappointing in some ways, to be fair.
Yeah, I'll come to that in a second, because I just wanted to detour for a moment and say,
go on,
that I think Jenna is actually she's fantastic, an actress. She was really good in Victoria, and if anyone listening and you as well, Paul, haven't seen The Cry that she was in, I urge you to check it out.
Seen it.
It's brilliant, and if you've got kids, it's even more kind of harrowing. And I'm staggered why she wasn't nominated for more awards in it. I thought she was absolutely phenomenal in that, and she was really good in The Serpent as well. And she seems to sort of have moved into still quite high profile stuff, but to prove that she can act and isn't just sort of doing kind of light stuff like Doctor Who. Not to say Doctor Who is light and inconsequential, but you know what I mean. The Cry.
It's hardly Shakespeare, darling, is it?
No, and that's not a bad thing. But the Cry is massively different. For example, but she's appearing in Sandman soon on Netflix, Neil Gaiman.
Oh, is she?
Thing. Yeah.
Right.
So that's got quite a good lineup. So, but I'm not sure when that's out. But yes, I thought that there were a few points here where the Doctor sort of took charge again, and it would have been nice to have had her sort of figure things out on her own. But and there was not a lot, but some kind of exposition dumps.
There was a lot.
Yeah,
there was exposition throughout the whole thing. But
I'm just
there
putting,
is
I'm just
in
putting
Doctor Who
that out
episodes.
there because it's not 6 hours
The
long.
whole blooming thing is
Yeah.
completely exposition. I mean, it's done really well, to be fair.
Yes, it's
You know,
integrated into it well, but
But it's just part and parcel of what Doctor Who does.
Well, that's how
you could be
everything
really
does it.
critical and analyse any episode and pull it out for that sort of thing. But you know what? It's just
how would we have shown these things on screen without 20 seconds of exposition? We don't have an unlimited runtime.
Exactly. And I think that the problem is, I mean, okay, so if you've got time and loads of money, you can show and not tell. But when you've got 43 minutes to get this story and make it as action-packed as possible, whilst making it credible and having to explain an alien threat or having to show an alien threat, and have people understand what the hell is going on, you do need someone to kind of explain the stuff. And it is done well. I mean, there are episodes where it's done horribly and it stands out like a sore thumb and it's just awful. But that is not an exclusive thing to Doctor Who at all. You know, there are other shows that do it far more. I'm trying to think of the word. I'm trying to think of a word, Geoff, and it's. I need some exposition to kind of help me out with this. But
well, I always thought a bit of exposition is needed. I mean, in Austin Powers, I know it's taking the piss, but there's a character called Basil Exposition whose job is to set things up, because you can't spend 20 or 30 minutes with all this backstory. He's there to
Yeah, I think you can, but what you have to do is you have to trust your audience. And I think a lot of program makers probably, whether they trust their audience or not, I don't know, or if it's the studios. Like, I mean, a really good thing is, a really good example is my favourite film of all time, Blade Runner, right? Which kind of, just there are different cuts of Blade Runner, and the one the studios wanted, the studio insisted that there's some kind of voiceover narration or something on the film, because they were convinced that audiences just wouldn't get it. Ridley Scott was like, "No, you're not doing that. I'm never going to put it on my film." And the studio's like, "Well, we're paying you money, so we're going to put it on." And they got Harrison Ford to come in and do a narration. And Ridley Scott literally, you could see him on the Blu-ray. He's like, "Well, I gather some people like this, but I don't. So enjoy it if you must." Like, he really derogatory towards it.
Yeah.
And his cut doesn't have any of that.
Yeah.
Right. And arguably, which is better? I don't know. I prefer it without. To be fair, I'd rather make my own mind up. But I think if you're after showing something to a popular, and if you want as many people to understand it and get it as possible, you have to tell at some point.
Yes,
you can't just
you
rely
do.
on show.
I think that was something I learned. Maybe this was at uni or in a book I read. I don't know. But you have to treat the audience like they're stupid, and you have to hit them over the head with information.
Yeah, I'd rather they didn't do that.
No,
to be honest,
and I was going to say, I think that's
some
a bit
people
of.
do probably take it quite literally.
Yeah, that's a bit of a generalisation, and stupid is not the right word. But what you're putting something out there that's going to be watched by a lot of people, and some people will have a greater understanding of how narrative can work and different structure and style, and other people won't. So you're trying to make something that's going to appeal to as many people as possible. And I think a lot of time, particularly with films and TV, it's going out there. And essentially, the goal is to make money with it. And if they have a fear that something is impenetrable, then they're going to take steps to make something. Work. It's like The Abyss. There's the director's cut of The Abyss, which is better. Because it's longer, and it fills things in more, and it's
again, it's time and money, isn't it? If you can show these things, if you can have those scenes that show rather than tell, brilliant, perfect.
But it just isn't always possible.
Solution.
It's money. Sometimes the things that you're trying to tell, characters' backstory, for example, you couldn't show it because it would just cost too much to do that story. And I was just going to say, completely off topic, but with The Abyss, where the hell is the Blu-ray release?
I wouldn't mind seeing that film again. I haven't seen it for years.
I haven't seen it. I've got an American DVD of it, which I can't watch anymore. It hasn't come out on Blu-ray. It's never on telly. And same with True Lies. Although I did catch True Lies on telly last year.
That was on at Christmas, wasn't it?
I think it might have been. I just randomly searched one day
to
see if I could find it.
Got it on my Skybox.
Yeah, same. And I was sitting here and I said to my wife, "Oh my God, True Lies is on next Sunday.
True Lies.
I hadn't seen it for years. It's so good, so good. But maybe if Cameron is re-releasing Avatar later in the year, he might put those.
Yeah,
out
well, he's listening to our podcast anyway.
I'm sure he is. Yeah.
James,
And
get off it, sunshine.
James,
if you need any help, we can assist.
Get him out.
We have some post-production skills.
Yep,
right
I'll
there.
do it, and I'm also prepared to put all of my pocket money into Avatar merchandise. So that should be an incentive.
I've got an elastic band somewhere that I can probably that might help.
So back on subject.
Yes, back to Doctor Who.
There was exposition in this episode, very nicely done, essential. Just part
it was
of
nicely
sometimes.
Interwoven with the action.
Yeah.
They were kind of explaining things as they were running, so that's always a good thing.
yeah. So yeah, I really liked Clara in this. Now you're right. She had a bit of she wants to be praised, at the end when she says, admit it, I was a good doctor. And now, I wonder what your reading of it was, because I never really quite got this ending where he says, what does the doctor say? It wasn't about being good or something like that, doesn't he?
Yeah.
He's a bit horrible, and she looks kind of crestfallen. And I was every time I've watched it, I'm like, yeah, I still don't get what his meaning is there. So I wonder what yours. I'm putting that to you.
I thought what this was is a kind of pickup of the ongoing question that the Doctor's asking himself throughout this season: am I a good man? Do I do good? Is what I do good? Do I make the right choices? Do I save people? Do I save more people than I don't save? And that. As much as I disliked Kill the Moon, that idea is central to that story. And because that was only a couple of episodes prior to this one, wasn't it? So when you think of this in the kind of development of Clara's personality, a character development, if you like, we get that moment in Kill the Moon where she slaps him because she's just horrified at what he's done. And then in Mummy on the Orient Express, she comes to understand why he did what he did. And now she comes to, in Flatline, she gets to be the Doctor and actually do what he does and make those actual decisions on her own terms, because she has to. He's trapped in this shrunken TARDIS. So there's no option. She's got to go out there and do what the Doctor does, which is, and it's a good arc. It's not just about Clara, although it is, because she does develop from this. But it's also, I think, it tries to give us a deeper understanding of what goes through the Doctor's mind time after time. We've never had that in the show before. We've never had that sort of that level of deep introspection that this series of Doctor Who gave us. It's quite a thing. And to begin for the 12th Doctor to begin with asking himself that question, am I a good man? It's quite something. It's a few words, but it means a lot. And how do you play that? How do you explore that? With everything the Doctor does, and this run of episodes does a job of it.
I thought this series
pretty good job.
And 9 were excellent, and the end of series 8 where they're in the cafe and they hug together and they're both lying to each other and to themselves to an extent as well. I found it really effective, and I was so pleased that Last Christmas wasn't Clara's last story, and that she stayed on, because there was more for the pair of them to do together.
I really thought she was going to leave at the end of that. I was surprised.
Yeah,
she came
I think
back,
Jenna was due to leave, and then she changed her mind. That's why there's another ending tacked onto it when she, to bring her back into it. And that's a great episode as well. It's like,
we need to do Last Christmas. I've got huge amounts to say about that.
It's like Inception meets Aliens meets thing. It's
meets Father Christmas.
Yeah, meets Father Christmas. I still can't believe that went out on Christmas Day.
I know. It's quite dark.
So let's talk about the Doctor in this one a bit.
Okay.
This is it's a bit of an odd kind of mash in a way, because you've got grumpy, mean Doctor and sort of slightly lighter, kind of more 11th Doctor-y type
this
moments.
Is one where he does the dance,
the little dance. But my biggest question about this is, when did the Doctor get incredible shrinking and growing hair?
When? What do you mean?
Well, like the first half of the episode, his hair is sort of quite, mini quiff-tastic.
Yeah.
And then suddenly it goes back
really
to being
short. It's
really
close-cropped.
short. And then it gets bigger again, like between cuts.
Are you suggesting they might have messed up on the continuity when filming pickups for this episode, like 6 months further on down the line or something?
Yes.
That's a shocker. Straight
it's-
after Kill the Moon, which doesn't even bother with continuity at all.
Well, there was obviously something happened. I don't know. Maybe it was a technical thing, and they had to reshoot parts of
maybe.
Peter in the TARDIS. Or
These things don't worry me. Actually, they would worry my mum. She would pick up on that, and she would just go into a hate rant about it. But
no, I'm not hate ranting. It's just it's so obvious.
The story comes first.
And the story works absolutely fine. I've just every time I've watched it, I've been like, why is his hair suddenly short? Like, it literally makes no sense. So anyway, but yeah, I think he plays it really well again. Going
What
from,
the hair?
Yeah, I mean, it's so well controlled. But going from the sort of silly, lighter stuff to, kind of slightly darker again and meaner. And, he was brilliant, wasn't he, as Doctor? And he was so good with Jenna. They really played
I've got
well off
a
each
lot of
other.
love for Peter Capaldi in the 12th Doctor. I really do. I do, again, as much as I love the current era, I wish we'd had at least one more 12th Doctor series. I do, because I just think I say it with all the Doctors. To be fair, it's and especially this kind of 3 series rule nonsense. I know I've said it on the podcast before, and I'm repeating myself, but I just forget that. Just do it for as long as you want to, and just make it more than 3 years, 3 seasons.
Yeah. I would have liked more,
because they all seem to be just getting good and getting into it and getting a feel for the character. and
definitely.
That's it. It's like, right, I'm off now. Do something else.
I'd have liked more with Jenna and Peter. It's always sort of slightly bothered me that Clara's last kind of proper on-screen adventure was Sleep No More, because it's a bit of an odd one. And then, of course, after that, it's Face the Raven, and prior to Sleep No More, she spent most of the episode in a Zygon coma thing. And then, of course, she does come back again at the end of Series 9, but, she was sort of not technically there for, a bit of it. So I would have.
It's interesting when we probably, do you know, when you think of Clara's journey from when she started in Asylum of the Daleks. I mean, okay, Clara, not Clara then, but nonetheless, that was when we were first introduced to her character, and then we were given those kind of alternate Claras who may or may not have been her, and then we finally got the real Clara, and then her entire character seemed to turn 90 degrees. And then we got the whole Impossible Girl thing sort of building up. And then we get Clara with the 12th Doctor. It's almost like she is so many different people, so many. And I remember when I was first watching this, I thought, well, I don't know who she is, because it almost felt to me like they were making it up as they went along. That like they had an idea of who she was going to be in the Matt Smith years, and then at some point it just completely changed. It's like, okay, we'll do this with her now, almost like she was a different companion.
Well, there was a rumour,
and it's very difficult to kind of reconcile in my head the Clara we see with the 12th Doctor as the same Clara who started life with Matt
but that's
Smith.
what I was saying. I think with Matt, she was great, good fun and bubbly, but she was essentially just a puzzle, to how does this girl exist?
Well, that didn't make an awful lot of sense to me, to be fair.
I mean, I liked it, but some of these things don't really make sense. And then when she starts with Peter, it's almost like that's her. Well, also there's beginnings of it in Matt's last episode, where she talks to the Time Lords through the crack and stuff. And she,
I think, you're right. Do you know what? Because there's one consistency or one consistent character trait that Clara has, and it's her support, dedication, defense of the Doctor. She stands up for him for like nobody's business.
in Listen, she was there when he was a little boy in the shed. She was teaching him, fear as a superpower.
And maybe that's the thing, because when she was kind of splintered through his timeline, she would have been the only companion who'd have been with the Doctor at various points, throughout the Doctor's history, which always kind of worries me. Why? And maybe there's an easy answer for this, but why in Deep Breath she doesn't get that he can be an old man? She visits the Doctor in all his reincarnations.
She doesn't remember any of those.
Freaks out when he regenerates into an older looking fella.
But she doesn't remember any of her echoes. That's what it is.
I thought it was just a bit freaking weird, to be honest. But it's things like that I suspect turn people off the character in some ways. Like, they are inconsistencies, and you can kind of you can find answers for them within the narrative. Probably you can make something up that kind of makes sense.
Fanbank.
I was going to say, Geoff, there are children listening, you fucker. Honestly, your language, mate, terrible. I do apologise, children.
I'll beat that. Can you guess that word?
Anyway, I'm getting bored talking of Clara now.
Well,
Let's get back to the episode.
I just want to say one thing. Yeah, there was possibly, but there was a rumour that she was going to be, the Victorian version, and that was what was going to become
the governess.
Yeah, and that was going to be the main companion version, and then it changed, and I'm not quite sure why it all changed.
If that's true.
If it's true, I mean,
is it true or is it false?
At one point, coming up to the 50th, Jenna was the only cast member who was on contract. And apparently, Moffat started writing a version of the 50th script that was just her, going through time, trying to find the Doctor. And then they managed to get Matt to agree to stay. So I think with Series 8 and a bit of Matt's final one, that's when she started to really kind of become a proper solid character.
Yeah, I do agree.
And one thing I would like at some point, if anyone's listening, is a series of Big Finish audios which are called Clara Oswald Echoes, and it's a series of stories of Jenna with classic Doctors. Going through different adventures.
Let's be honest,
echoed in
right?
time.
That would make a lot more sense than sending River Song back in time to meet different incarnations of the Doctor, which is fine, not a problem. But it would make a lot more sense if it was Clara.
It's justified, yeah. So, yes, let's move on from Clara then.
Moving on.
So, overall,
that's a Flatline.
I really enjoyed this episode, and it is one, I would go back to again and again, and it was fun because we watched Kill the Moon a little while ago, didn't we? But I haven't watched any 12th Doctor stuff for a while, and my personal view is Series 8 and 9 are just awesome. So good. There are so many good stories. Listen, In a Run. Listen, Mummy on the Orient Express. Flatline. Kill the Moon. Just brilliant. And if he's listening, Safe Space Who, he is wrong about Series 8.
Is he not a fan of Series 8?
He's not. No.
I must admit, it's not. I'll be honest, Geoff. It's not my favourite. There are some good stories in there. I don't know. It is a difficult one with me. It's a purely personal thing. Some of it's going to land, some of it isn't.
Well, that's it. And we've said that before. I think people are sometimes surprised, considering my 13th Doctor
crush obsession,
that I like these two series that much. But I really do. I think they're brilliant. Yeah. So that's it. I mean, I tell you that. I'm going to sort of throw rock into your calm pond of love because of one thing I'd forgotten about. Do you know, when I started watching this, I thought I knew there was something about this episode that annoyed me before, and as it was unfolding, I thought, no, maybe I just imagined it, because. I don't know if you sort of just a slight aside here, right? But I put a tweet out because I was having a bad day yesterday, right? Yes,
I was
getting really checked off at work and everything.
And every tweet I put out was probably having a go at somebody for something they'd said, and I do apologise if anybody was on at the end of any of those things. But then I kind of got a grip on myself, and I put this jokey poll out saying I'm in a bit of a crabby mood. Shall I actually watch Doctor Who tonight? Because if I watch it, whatever mood I'm in, it's going to inform my enjoyment of it. or should I just watch Peppa Pig? And you and Gail said I should watch some weird thing from the 80s, which I
Trapdoor! I can't believe you don't know what Trapdoor is.
Mate, I was in my teens in the 80s. I didn't watch kids' TV. I'm older than you. That's why. Anyway, back on track, right? So I knew there was something about this episode that I didn't like, but as it's unfolding and I'm enjoying it, I thought, no, I must have just made it up, and I was in a decent mood by then anyway. But then, right at the end, it came, didn't it? Right, the TARDIS lands in a blaze of glory. Murray Gold's music swells to almost inspirational, orchestral, heavenly, almost like a gospel choir of salvation. There's a blaze of light from the TARDIS beacon. It grows, it fills the tunnel. The Doctor steps out. He's going to save the day. And what does he do? He points his sonic screwdriver, and that's the end of it. It's like, what? Really? After everything, all the setup and everything, it comes to pointing the flipping sonic screwdriver at them, and that's it. And I just, let's give up. That's why I think, or that's a good illustration of why Series 8 and 9 are not my favourite, because there is a massive inconsistency of huge, wonderful, brilliant, epic greatness. And on the other hand, the absolute nadir of all the things that Doctor Who can do badly. And they're all mixed up in some of the absolute best and worst stories that I think I've ever seen, which is, on the whole, I like it because it's adventurous and it's bold and everything else. But when it comes down to things like this, and from Jamie Matheson, who's a great writer, and this is a great episode, but... And I know, at the start of this podcast, and I said, we got 43 minutes to tell a story and wrap everything up. But I think having the Doctor step out in a blaze of salvation or glory and just point his sonic at things is just, it's not for me, I don't think. And I was left with a very bitter taste in my mouth after that. Go on.
I liked his speech. I'm the one who stops the monsters.
I see. Again, maybe if I was younger, I would probably love that. But I found it.
Yeah,
I'd had enough. Do you know what? After the 10th Doctor had made a career out of doing this sort of thing, right? And we still get it here, and it's like we've had years and years and years of this oncoming storm. And, this kind of almost like the Doctor, our salvation, the guy who's just going to step in, wave his magic wand and save everybody. I think by this point, I was kind of hoping that we start to see something different. And the stories like Flatline, which are beautifully different and unique in so many ways, end badly for me. Mummy on the Orient Express is another one, actually, because it's a cracking good setup, a really tense, wonderful story with a brilliant conceit at the start of it. Another Jamie Matheson script. But it ends with the Doctor saying, I forgive you, or something. And then the mummy disappears. It's like, what? Really? Come on. Give me something a little bit more challenging than that. So there you go. That's my take on it. So it would never be a 10 out of 10 from me on this one. It might make a 5.
If we were going to make only a 5, if we were going to make a line graph...
4.96 to be honest, I'll round it up because I'm in a good mood.
If we were going to make a line graph of this episode for you then...
it would just peak, it would continue to rise.
A flat line that then drops at the end.
See what I did there?
See what I did there?
Amazing. It would drop off a cliff. I don't know, what was your thoughts on that, Geoff, at the end? Am I just being a crabby old sausage or what?
No, I sort of understand where you're coming from. I suppose I like the heroic way he comes out, and
I really don't. Yes.
And I'm a bit of a sucker for it, I suppose. But, I think if I was to look at it and be critical, with a critical eye, it does happen a lot. I remember the Rings of Akaton. The Sonic turns into some sort of Harry Potter magic blasting wand thing, and
I must admit, I do hope they're going to get rid of the Sonic because I've had enough of it.
I mean, it's not used much.
I really have.
It's used very differently in 13's run, I think.
Well, it's kind of waved at everything rather aggressively.
But it's not doing magic blasts and stuff. Not that I can remember anyway. But I suppose there's a part of me like with the Rings of Akaton, for example, where I'm like, it's just visually, it's a sort of. It's cool. It's a childlike moment of.
I love that story.
It's beautiful. His speech is beautiful. And the bit with the leaf that Clara has,
and I love the music.
That singing and the alien prosthetics and stuff. They really created a great kind of alien community there in that one. It was really well done. Some stuff with the TARDIS not liking Clara never really panned out, but there you go. But I often I enjoy things because they create a response within me and an emotional engagement, and it may be, it may not be brilliant, but I kind of look past it because I've enjoyed it, and I kind of think at the end of it, as if I've enjoyed myself, that's really all that matters. Because what's the point in going through life choosing to be miserable?
Quite right.
So there we go. That's my
that was beautifully put, my friend. Well done. I think you're quite right. I have got another piece of something on my note here as well. Can you read what that says?
Hold on. I was just looking at our comments from listeners. So Clara was amazing. What does that say?
Danny Pink.
Oh, Danny.
Maybe this is the right story to talk about Danny Pink because he's not really in it, but
no, he gets blown out by.
But let's just have a quick take on Danny Pink for the sake of our listeners, because I know he is a very divisive character. I think people either love him or they have absolutely no time for him at all. Some think his presence in the Doctor Who universe is a worthy addition, and the universe is brighter by his inclusion within it. Others think that he ought to go jump down a very deep hole, I think. So where are you on that spectrum, Geoff? The listeners need to know.
I think Danny's fine. I think it created... It was trying to create tension and drama. He wants to be with Clara. He's jealous to an extent, wary of the Doctor. The Doctor immediately doesn't like him, doesn't think he's good enough for Clara. So they've got this kind of bickery thing, between them. I think Clara likes him and the sort of normality of it, but I think she wants more adventure. She loves that life. I mean, she sort of gets.
See, we're talking about Clara now. We're not talking about Danny Pink.
Sorry.
We've gone on to Clara.
Very confused. Very confused.
Just crept up on us just like that, didn't it?
Yeah.
Look at that.
It all roads lead back to Clara. So I think he was fine. I mean, the bit when he gets knocked down and run over was quite a shocker, and I think. Yeah, I suppose it probably could. He was. I liked him. He was fine, but it probably could have been handled a bit better. I think it's probably one of those things. I say it could have been handled better. That's probably not quite true. If Doctor Who was 20-something episode series like most American TV, a lot of these arcs would play out over a longer period and be able to be more well defined. But they're trying to fit quite adult, in a way, topics and themes into this series in a show that also needs to appeal to kids as well. And
it's a family show.
It is a family show and has a limited runtime per episode, and is, more, I was going to say more concerned, but I don't think that's quite right, but with science fiction, aliens, adventure, etc., than jealous boyfriends and stuff.
Yeah, see, it's interesting, this one, because I think in this episode, I can't remember, it's right at the start again when Clara's grabbing all her stuff. She says something about Danny Pink being a little bit possessive, and she's okay with that. I can't remember the exact words, but that's the whole point of her grabbing her things so she can dump them in his flat. So she's got some presence within his life, which he kind of seems to demand. And I don't know, I just didn't like that at all.
Yeah.
I thought, and I must admit, I do kind of wonder what she actually saw in him, because he just comes across as a bit of a wet blanket.
For me, it's a bit like the Rory and Amy thing. Amy is feisty and, you know, brave and smart and all of those kind of words, much like Clara. And then Rory is none of those things. And I never believed Amy and Rory as a couple. Just didn't work. And same with Danny and Clara to an extent, and also like the bit later on, which, you know, is sort of slightly played for laughs, but he's phoning her from the park bench, and she's just like, oh yeah, I can't make it, rain check, and she's making all these kind of suggestive noises while swinging on the thing, and he's like, oh, what's going on there? And he's just kind of like, oh, this, you know, I'm all right about this, you know, you might do, you know, and yeah, okay, haha, chuckle, but, you know, it's sort of a bit, you know, he's just a bit doormat about it, you know, he's just like, yeah, okay, whatever, yeah, see you tomorrow. So, yeah, I think, it you know, no slight on Samuel, I think he plays it all well, but, you know, with another couple of episodes, it could have perhaps been integrated a bit better, maybe. Yeah,
maybe that's a good summary as any. So, what have our listeners been saying about this episode, Geoff?
So, our first tweet is from Matthew, who's at Disciple of Brad. I'll just say quickly, Matthew was extremely excited about the Kevin McNally podcast and was really chuffed that we asked his question to Kevin, which was lovely. So he says, one of my favourite episodes of all time. The relationship between 12 and Clara is at its best, and it highlights the humour that people tend to forget Series 8 is filled with.
Good point. Yeah, yes, good point. There is a lot of humour within the kind of introspection and the darkness and everything.
So we've got another one from Philip Marsh here, whose username is one of my favourite types of usernames, this one.
Has it got lots of underscores?
No, it's just got lots of numbers. At Philip M04217017. But Philip says, my favourite Capaldi story, and by some distance, my only criticism that I wish it had been a 2-part season finale, is I think the concept would have sustained it.
Oh, so that's an idea.
That's quite an interesting idea, yeah. So, you know, perhaps, you know, the end bit might have been resolved slightly differently, you know,
and maybe less exposition as well.
Yes. So we've got one from Gail Wright here, who's at Mealy Garage. Brilliant episode. Gail. Love the concept of the boneless and the shrinking of the TARDIS. Yeah. Great characters, a highlight of Series 8. And she also says, and the boneless are my son's equal favourite baddie, along with the Wire. With the Wire from Idiot's Lantern.
Oh, really? Yeah.
So Dave Rennie, who's at Hemovores Russ, says there was a lot of great moments in this. The attacks by the boneless appearing on the wall, the Doctor's hand being Thing, getting off the train track.
That is hilarious. Yeah, I love that.
We didn't mention that. I love the way his nose is poking out the TARDIS when he's talking to Clara, and he puts his hand out.
We didn't mention this, did we? But there are some really great visual gags in this, and it's pure Stephen Moffat almost. Yeah, I know it's written by Jamie Matheson, but written to Moffat's sensibilities, and pulling the sledgehammer out of the handbag is just, it's the classic, isn't it? You know, cartoon Mary Poppins type thing. Just produce all his stuff because he's handing it to her. It's great fun.
There's another one from Bex.dwmad, who's at BexDWMad. This is my boy's favourite 12 and Clara episode. He is 10. I love it too, so it's one of our most watched episodes. I particularly like Clara pretending to be the Doctor. I love Clara. Safe Space who's at Safe Space Doctor Who, says, definitely one of my favourite stories in Series 8. I adore the concept, and it was so nice to see the companion take the lead on this one. So that goes against what I said earlier about Safe Space, but I'm pretty sure he doesn't like the rest of the series. Stephen Goss, who's at SGossWrites, says, this one duels with Extremis for the honour of being my favourite Capaldi era episode.
I did see that tweet, because I was thinking we should do the whole Monk trilogy on a podcast.
Yes, I saw you talking about that with Gail, I fondly remember watching it at uni before my fresher term and thinking, why haven't they done 2D aliens before? This is great.
This makes me feel old. There wasn't any Doctor Who around when I were at uni, apart from in Virgin New Adventures books. It was a wilderness.
Wilderness years.
Yeah.
Tony Filer, who's at Filer Wright, says years later, Flatline still more than stands up as a highlight of Series 8 and a thrilling example of Earth-based alien peril stories updated to deliver genuine scares in the jaded 21st century.
Ooh.
The Boneless are a creepy idea executed with real Pertwee era style flair.
Yes, totally agree with that one. Yeah, they do feel like a Pertwee monster, don't they?
Yeah, I could see that. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know how they'd have realised that in 1972 or 73 or something.
No,
it would have been interesting to see Barry Letts do some CSO colour screen overlay.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
The
really
with the yellow
green
fringes, because
screen,
we're going to do green. We're going to do yellow. Who wears yellow? Yeah.
So I've got one more here from Carla Godfrey, who's at Carla Godfrey. Love Flatline. It took their relationship to another level. He trusted her, and she found it funny to begin with, which is true. She did.
Good point. Yeah.
So quite a lot of love for it. In fact, no kind of negative comments about it at all there. So I think this is one that people have seemed to really enjoy. So it's been great going back to it, and I'm always happy to spend time with 12 and Clara. So thank you to everyone who commented and voted. So Paul, we should probably put another vote out for pick an episode, shouldn't we?
Yes, we should. Do you think we should? Which Doctor should we look at? Because we've done 2 Capaldi ones now. Maybe we should give the 12th Doctor a little rest.
Yeah,
and maybe go further back in time
to 11.
Yeah, we do 11.
Yeah,
I think 11's a good idea.
Yeah, let's do that.
It's been a long time since I saw some Matt Smith episodes.
My only proviso is it's a Clara episode.
No.
Not really.
Just stop any excuse just to get Clara on your telly and have it justified.
Yeah, yes. It's homework.
I'm watching it for a podcast, love. Yeah. Clara again.
So
Jenna Coleman again.
Perhaps we'll do an 11. So we'll have a discussion about our favourites, and then we'll put out a poll. So thank you as always for listening, and
yes, indeed.
We hope you've enjoyed the episode. Let us know what you thought of our thoughts of Flatline, and if you haven't already tweeted us yours, please do. And
please do. Yes.
Catch you next time on Who Corner to Corner.
Oh, that was good. That was very professional.
Oh, thanks.
You're getting good at this, mate.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Impressive. Got to buck up my ideas.